So what questions do you guys have? What issues are you running into? Feedback you're looking for? If I could wave a magic wand and solve a problem in your company, what would it be? Let's talk about it. See if somebody does have a magic wand for you and can help you navigate that. So either unmute, put it in the chat, throw up a hand, ask away. Yes, Jeff.
This just popped into my head. So we've hired, I've had a superintendent. I'm a general contractor, doing home remodeling and home additions. And I've had a superintendent with me for a few years. And then we just recently hired, I guess her title would best be project manager. And then we recently in the last couple months hired two more skilled tradesmen. So our team is growing. And I've realized, I've been running it kind of on my own alongside my superintendent since I started it. And there's a lot of things in my head of how to do things. I'm very system oriented, a lot of processes in place. Again, spreadsheets, organization, but it's not like, I feel like I need to build some sort of employee handbook, or we're at least need to get one started and start creating one too. Because as we grow, as we hire, as we bring team members on, it'd probably be something good to have. So I don't know if that's something anyone in here has built, has created.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious I don't even know where to start. I guess I could have AI build me one probably at this point.
I'm sure they could. Jordan, I'll get to you in just a second, but as you speak, Travis, if you will grab the onboarding checklist. I think we have like an employee onboarding template, because what I will say, Jeff, nobody looks at a handbook. Sorry, they don't. They're never going to read it. But if you have a running checklist of, hey, when I hire somebody, what are all the boxes I need to check, from going over the write-up policy, going over the callback policy, going over PTO, going over how do you clock in, how do you clock out, what meetings do you need to have in your calendar. Just having a checklist where it's like, there's a lot that I need to go over outside of just like technical stuff. Like the technical stuff, we'll figure it out in the field together. I'll build checklists for that. But like when I'm onboarding an employee, what are all the things that I need to go over and equip them with? And so it looks like Travis just put that onboarding checklist onto into the chat here. You're welcome to make a copy of that. It would at least allow you to not be starting from scratch. There's a lot of helpful templates in there. And then on the other side of that, Jeff, I think what you were also asking is like, hey, how do I help them kind of do their job, like get up to speed with what their roles and duties are? It sounds like you're with Buildertrend. I would really lean on Buildertrend there. I'd try to keep as much as you can in that software. So for a project manager, and the first checklist I would build is just what is everything that falls under their umbrella? What are all of the duties all the responsibilities that fall under there? And then we need to figure out, are they daily? Are they weekly? Are they monthly? And kind of label them. When should that project manager be doing those activities? And then I like to have a beginning of the day checklist and an end of the day checklist. If you were in his position, what are the things you're checking on, making sure is happening in the beginning of the day? What are you communicating in the beginning of the day? And then what are you doing at the end of the day? Checking on where the jobs are at, checking on quality, scheduling subs for the next day, ordering materials, and it doesn't need to be pretty or perfect, because it's going to change as that person steps into that role. We're going to add to those checklists. But that would be kind of where I'd start. And then I would get with your coach, because we do have, just because we've worked with so many contractors for so long, some templates to kind of get you going where you can build from for those checklists.
Yeah. I love a checklist. So that's great.
Me too. I probably have some clients who are sick of hearing me talk about checklists. So, Jordan, I saw your hand up. I don't know if you had a question or feedback on this, or if you're still here. I can't see everybody's video, so. Jordan, are you still with us?
Yeah, I got kicked out.
There you are.
Yeah.
Travis, I told you to stop kicking out Jordan, okay? Yeah, stop that.
I would kind of go on with what Nicole said, where generally people do not read, comprehend, even if you go over it with them line for line, they don't know what's in it because it's in one ear, out the other. And they're probably going through a lot of stuff when they're first getting hired anyways. We do have one. We borrowed it from my wife's brother's company, and then we just kind of chat GTP'd it to make it fit our company. If you are interested, we'd be happy to share it with you. It's pretty extensive and lengthy, but if you send your email, I can do our copy if you want.
Sure. Is it because I've created like roles and responsibilities, just a one sheet for the field guys, the super, the PM. But that's just like literally what my expectations. What are they doing every day? So it doesn't talk about PTO. It doesn't talk about any of that type of stuff.
That or onboarding checklist that Travis put on there would be a great place to start, Jeff, with that.
And some of the stuff is like CYA. It's like, what's our drug policy? What's the policy?
Yeah.
If you have, like, one thing that we had to run into was like, if you have any offsite medical attention, or if you have basically anything that would ever trigger an insurance claim, we need to be the first ones to know about it, you know? So whether that's damage to someone's property, vehicle, accident, ticket, things like that, you know, you get hurt on the job. What triggered it for us was we had an employee who hurt his shoulder drilling up above his head and just left and went to the hospital. And he's still on work comp from that. And that was at the beginning of the summer. So ended up tearing his rotator cuff, but it just made the situation really messy because he was already at the hospital before we found out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. And a lot of those, like you've heard a couple times now, Jeff, like most people are not going to remember the write-up policy. They're not going to remember the employee handbook, but just having it documented, having them sign it, you've signed it as well. Like that's going to cover your tail. If anything ever got messy, you know, where you have that, that's the most important part. And then one thing that, you know, the write-up policy is not going to do you any good unless you hold people accountable to it. And that's not the fun part of being a business owner, but it, you know, at some point somebody has to be an example or a sacrifice. And so you got to hold people to it. One thing that we always like to establish is a carrot and a stick. You know, like the write-up policy is kind of that stick, it's that consequence. And then what reward do we have for hitting your numbers or exceeding them or not having callbacks? You know, people tend to make change to avoid pain more than they do to gain pleasure. So if you have both, your chance of getting somebody to adhere to it is a lot more real.
Yeah.
But,
Jordan, I put my email in the chat if you want to send that to me.
Yep, I got it. I'm looking for ours right now.
awesome.
Appreciate it.
I
Love
just
that.
second what Jordan said. Like we have a handbook, we reviewed it, we review it pretty much every quarter because right now it changes on a quarterly basis. As we hire new people or we find things that employees do that we're like, oh, we didn't like that. We got to add that. But I also like it because if I have an employee come to me with a question and it's in the handbook, I refer them to the handbook first, and then they can come to me with what they learned. And from that, it just reduces the amount of time I'm spending explaining the same type of questions. But like, does it always work? No, they usually come back and still have questions, but it kind of puts it back on them to like, go figure it out for yourself and then come talk to me to kind of adhere that mindset of like, how can I learn on my own, or what resources do I have? And then I can bring up what I learned. But does it always work? No, but we're working on it.
Yes. And that's a great reminder. You can go over the write-up policy anytime. You can make changes to it. You just got to make sure you go over it again and have everybody sign it. You know, and you can't just have a specific write-up policy for one person. If you change it for one, you got to change it for all. You know, go over it with everybody, have them all sign. But we are approaching like the best time of year to do it, which is end of the year, beginning of the year. And so if you haven't had a write-up policy or want to make changes to yours, or, maybe you've kind of slacked off and not gotten your entire team to sign one, this is a great season to do that. So great feedback, team. What other questions do we have today? Thoughts, issues we're running into, things we're actively trying to solve? Jordan.
Has anybody had any experience with a virtual assistant? It was recommended to us yesterday that we get one. Never had one before, but does anybody have any experience with that?
Yes, we do. We tried a couple. Other people have said that they work really well. I don't know if we were just asking too much of our virtual assistant. Like we were having them do our dispatching, so it was like answering calls, trying to schedule, like problem solving, like when a customer called in, like with a problem, like figuring out like if a tech had to go out there, if it's something we could work over the phone. We didn't really have much success. In fact, when we got rid of the virtual assistant and we hired our dispatcher now, our profitability went through the roof, even though it was a lot more. People that I've heard have really good success with it. It's usually like they're cold calling, or they have a specific task that's the only thing that they do. Because it's a lot easier for them to just focus on that one task, if that makes sense.
That is such good feedback. If somebody is debating in between a virtual assistant and an office manager, I'm always going to push them towards an office manager. I would rather have somebody who is full-time in the business, answering the phone, very much so part of the team, who's following scripts. I always prefer that hire. A virtual assistant is great to fill in the gaps when that office manager is gone for whatever reason, vacation or whatever, or if we need somebody to specifically do collections calls or Dream 100 work or something specific, like a task is just getting neglected because that office manager is just too busy, that's when a VA can come in to play. Now, a VA will not work well for you if you do not have a, Jeff, checklist, our favorite word, if you don't have a checklist of what their duties are. And when I say a checklist, you need to have like this. We have a VA at Redmond Growth, but we have a specific checklist of every single one of their tasks, who they report to if they have questions on that task. And underneath each one of these tasks is either a document with a step-by-step how to do it, or a video that's going to walk them step-by-step how to do it. So we're really empowering them to be able to do every single duty that we're putting on their plate. They have this as a resource to go back to. And then they know who to ask questions to, who to book a call with if they run into issues. And then they're going to meet with core team members. So like they're going to meet with Robert or Alyssa or Kaden to follow up each week on, hey, this is what I was able to get to. This is what I wasn't. This is what I'm running into. They have that ongoing accountability. If we kind of let that person be independent, kind of on their own in the Wild West, you're going to feel like you're wasting your money and time with them. You have to have that clear checklist, clear descriptions, and that accountability to really make that role work. But I totally agree. If you're debating getting an office manager or a VA, get an office manager first, and then maybe hire a VA to fill in the gaps if the office manager is overwhelmed and can't get to everything, or you have a specific thing that is not getting done. We've used Upwork to find our VAs in the past. We do have one who's out of the country. We have one that's in the country. Upwork's worked really well for us to find our VAs. Now, I will say, and I am the person who found them, interviewed all of them, it took interviewing a lot of different ones to find the right ones. And so I think that's the biggest factor too, is just finding the right person. You might go through a few before you find the right one.
Nicole, I think one of the questions I have too is just like, what I was trying to think about it last night, and like what specific task would that person handle? like what do you think would be like reasonable tasks that that person might handle?
Yeah. So Kyle, I will let you jump in here in just a moment. So one thing that I provided Jordan to you guys a couple weeks ago is the Eisenhower matrix. I don't know, Travis, if you want to put that template on the agenda too. What you do with that Eisenhower matrix is you're going to be able to list out all of your duties, and you're going to be able to look at them and say, what is urgent and important that only I can address in the moment? Okay, can't delegate that. What is not urgent but important? Let me schedule that into my calendar. What could I delegate? What duties are on my plate right now that I could build out a system, film a Loom video, and it's definitely not me who has to do it. I'm going to delegate that to someone else. And so I do that with your duties. I would do that with Stacy's duties. And I do that with your office manager. And then on anything that you guys want to delegate, there you go. There's your list. Once you have your list for the VA, that's when you would start building out that checklist that I just showed you guys that we have for ours, where it's like, hey, under each duty that we have for that VA, they need to know how frequently they need to do it, and they need to clearly be able to know how to do it, either with a video or step-by-step. Kyle, I'd love to hear if you have feedback specifically on this or question or.
Hey, no, I don't have any feedback. I find it very interesting. I was just talking with Bryce about this the other day. We got a trip coming up in about a month here with my family that we're going to be gone. And I was just asking, I guess I was asking him a little bit as far as like if there's anything out there that could handle like calls when I'm away, as well as possibly like text messages that can just send kind of an automated text message that says, hey, I'm gone, text so-and-so or call so-and-so.
Yeah.
And just wondering
Sure.
if anybody has any information on that, or if it kind of can tie in with this VA also.
Totally could. I think most people, when they hire a VA, Kyle, they're planning on using them pretty consistently. And this might be an opportunity to challenge yourself and say, hey, are there any duties that we're neglecting? Are we doing the Dream 100 consistently? Are we sending out newsletters consistently? Are we doing follow-up calls? Like, do I have some things I could throw onto a VA and have them work 2-3 hours a week? If so, let's hire a VA who can fill in the gaps while you're out on vacation. If you're like, no, I don't think we really need somebody to work a couple hours a week, what I would look into, and we have this in our CRM system, is we do have an AI answering service that can send texts and answer the phone and even schedule appointments. I don't think AI is completely there yet. Like, I definitely know I'm still talking to a robot. I will say it's the best that I've heard. And I think there are people who don't realize that it's a VA or that's an AI. I would prefer, every single time I prefer for it to be a real human. But if you're in a situation where you just need something to fill the gap here and there, you want somebody after hours, that AI that we could set up for you could be a good temporary solution until you get an office manager or a VA to kind of fill in that gap for you. AI will get there at some point, guys. I just don't think it's there yet, but I think it will. It's as good as it's been.
Yeah, and one thing I was kind of thinking about too is, you know, like some of the tasks that come like right to the top of the head would require like us providing sensitive login information. And so it's like, how do you like navigate QuickBooks passwords or bank account passwords or login, stuff like that with essentially someone that's a stranger, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Go ahead, Robert.
Oh, at what point would I share sensitive login information with a VA? Is that kind of the concern, or how do I solve that?
Yeah, so we're just following up on what we talked about the other day, Robert. And I was asking if anybody had any experience with VAs and if they liked it and what tasks they took on. And one of the things we were talking about last night was what would those tasks be, and then like how would they accomplish those tasks without being able to log into QuickBooks or without that sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, ideally find someone that you legitimately trust, right? Like, we all probably know the difference between those people. You're not going to find that immediately on day one, though. I will say that in Power Builders, I just gave our VA, who's in Bangladesh, access to our bank accounts, which is like, may sound like a wild thing. But I've been working with her long enough, and she's sharp enough to know that, and the only access she has is money movement. She can't like transfer money out of the accounts or anything like that, right? So we have like limited access even with that. But still, I was the only guy in the business who was reliably like moving money according to Profit First. I was like, this is a task that I really need someone else to begin doing. And so, gave her those access, had a conversation with her about it. Something I did discuss with her that could be a option that you could utilize from the very beginning is having someone sign some sort of non-disclosure agreement, or like, some sort of statement of confidentiality where, like, if anything did happen, there'd be, huge consequences. But I would recommend bringing someone in who may already have a track record of the kind of experience that you're looking for, someone who already has a track record of handling, access to other people's QuickBooks or whatever. I think for a role like that, there's not really a whole lot that can be done in QuickBooks itself to really jeopardize your company. I mean, there could be, like inaccuracies in certain reporting and financial statements and things like that. But that's something that you could always have a third party, like if you have someone doing your taxes, look at to verify as well. So I'd have someone who may have had some of that experience, so that they already are a responsible person who can handle that. But then you could also, if you want to get someone from the get-go on this very confidential, highly sensitive thing, have them sign an NDA, or some sort of statement of confidentiality. I would recommend more than anything, though, to get someone in, have them working for you 3-4 months, really, really spend time with them, really, really kind of evaluate their character, their trustworthiness. And then at that point, I think that's when you can make the most confident decision. But there's other options too, if you want to get someone started sooner.
Yeah. And
Hey,
like
Robert.
Robert mentioned, most things have delegate access where like you can decide what they have access to and what they can and can't do. And so just because you give them access to QuickBooks doesn't mean that they can do anything they want in QuickBooks. Same thing with Google Local Services. Same thing with even like, I think CMM, you can give certain access. And so I think that might not be something that we really have to worry about, Jordan, because I think it's something that could kind of be a pretty easy solve.
Also,
Yeah,
hey,
it's
Rob,
not. Yeah.
yeah. So I had this issue with one of my other companies. And so my IT guy told me to go to a password logger. So I use a product called 1Password now.
That's a great product. I know that product.
Yeah, so they can log into your bank account and with their login, but it's actually 1Password translates it and logs in with yours. So if for some reason you have a problem with them, you can immediately stop their access and they can't get into it any longer.
Yeah, that's one of the more sophisticated solutions that I really, really support is a password manager or like a virtual wallet type of thing. Yeah, what Scott's saying is exactly right.
Yeah, I was concerned somebody would steal our Facebook accounts, our YouTube channel, and that kind of stuff by giving access to, a producer or something like that. So they get access to it, but if they make any change, all the requests come to me because they have access as if it's me, but they don't get any of the critical information.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, something we just did yesterday at Redmond Growth is it was my phone number who had 2-factor access to like every Redmond Growth account. And most of the time I could get the team a 2-factor code, but there was times like yesterday I was meeting with Bryce. Bryce is in town. He's in Tulsa. It was so great to have Bryce here. He unfortunately isn't on the group call today because he's with his family in Branson, but he's back from England. And we were meeting for a couple hours yesterday, but I think like Nicole or Travis like needed a code. And I just didn't see it until like 2 hours later. And so on Google, something that we do is like I'm the 2-factor phone number for all the accounts, but you can have another backup phone number too. And then you can have a recovery email as well. So it's like my email's there, my phone number's there, but then if I'm not available, we can send the code to someone else too. But I think the password manager is a good way to go.
Yeah.
That was called 1Password.
Yeah, I believe it's called 1Password.
Yeah.
The number 1, then password. Here, I'll throw the.
Oh, good, because that's what I was going to ask. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll throw the link in here. Yeah, it also just makes like tools like this just make it better. Just for your personal life as well. I mean, like I literally have I'm like 150, 200 logins maybe, you know. And I use like the same kind of derivatives of different passwords. Like I have a few different ones that I use, but like I've been in those moments where I'm like trying to log into my Avis rental car account and I'm using every derivative and it's like too many attempts, you know, we locked you out. I'm like, crap, like what the heck? So
Stacy, do you have another question, or did Robert just answer your?
Yeah, I just wanted the link.
Got it.
oh.
Thanks.
Nice. What other questions do we have today? Thoughts, things we're trying to solve.
Real quick, when I was able to hop in, I want to hear Taylor Butterfield, but I was on another call for a little bit, was able to hop in, heard you guys talking about the Eisenhower matrix. Were we talking a little bit about priority management or like
How to delegate duties, like how to know what you need to, what you have to own, what you can schedule, what you can delegate, that type of thing. We were talking about the VA duties.
Yeah, I don't know. Something that we did that Nicole helped me out with quite a bit, and I think this is really the first step for any kind of position like this, is to just create, like even before you do the Eisenhower matrix, just create a list of all the things, even if it might not be all the things that they are going to actually end up doing. You can kind of use like what we like to use the term vomit document, right? Like a vomit, just like a blank page that you can just, you know, brain dump on all the kinds of things that this person could be doing, right? All the things that you've talked about. And then you can even pull your team on it, right? Like that's something that we did with our VA is, you know, we had stuff that Nicole and I talked about that I wanted this person to do. And then we like pulled in, you know, Kaden and Alyssa, and now our VA is like helping create static images ads for you guys, like graphic design stuff. And so I would always start that by just blank sheet of paper, brain dump, like all the things that you're currently doing, all the things, and it's not going to all come at once, but as you just begin to sit with it, like maybe even set a 20-minute timer, 15-minute timer, just to keep you focused, right? Remove all distractions. And then just brain dump all the different kinds of responsibilities you can see this person having. And then I think, you know, incorporating your team on that as it makes sense. You know, if you're having like, I'm not necessarily saying incorporate like your carpenters or like techs in the field on like what activities the office person should be doing necessarily. But even if you have people in those positions that you trust, incorporate them on it. And then you can move to the Eisenhower matrix, or then decide, hey, you know, what's most critical for them to do now, and then what's, like Jordan, for you, like you may find that after you do that, like you and Stacy may find that, you know, yeah, we want to get this person on QuickBooks, but there are so many other things we need to get them on before, which then gives you time to vet the person a little bit, work with them a little bit more, and then allows you to build that confidence to give them more responsibility and more trust. So anyway, Taylor, though, what's up, buddy?
I didn't want to sidetrack anything too much, but just a simple question. We've been getting a bunch of spam, like 1-star reviews from Google of just like some chat GPT stuff of like, I don't know, just random things happening. And we were just curious if anybody else has been dealing with a lot of those. We got like 3 of them last night. And so, I don't know. And then just kind of keep coming in. You just report those to Google and like hopefully get them off, or is there anything else people have like seen that happening to their websites?
Taylor, is it happening like through your web forms, or is it Google Local Services or Google Business Profile, or is it like, hey, I'm getting spam from all of them, or I'm not really sure, I just know I've gotten a lot more?
Yeah, I think it's all through Google Local Services. We've just been getting emails and it'll say you have another 1-star review. And it's like, what? And they're like people we don't even know. Usually the image is like the same person, so we know it's spam, but like they'll use different names. And we're just like, I don't know. Some people will call and be like, wait, are these like, have you been doing this to other customers, or are you guys still legit? And it's like, well, we're still legit, I promise. But the last 3 email like reviews are bad. But
Yeah.
we're just spam. We'll get them off.
So the reviews, my guess, are hitting your Google business profile. I don't necessarily think that people can leave reviews straight on Google local services anymore.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just, Nicole, I'm gonna interrupt, but I've got his Google business listing pulled up here. So you're talking about these. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it's like, this is all the same thing.
Yep.
You got 3.
Yep.
Dude. I don't mean to laugh. It's just like to be like the negative fake reviews are like so like obviously fake. It's almost like comical. Like I'm just thinking about someone actually saying that that they tried to contact you to fix your dishwasher in range, as if like that's something that you would ever even do. You know what I mean? Construction, you know, we're gonna repair your dishwasher, you know, do other So here's a move that we have used, and I'm gonna show this move to everyone. This isn't like an official, like you're not gonna find an SEO blog talking about it. You're not gonna find Google talking about it. You're not gonna really find it, like you may find actually some SEO blogs that talk about this. But there's a move that we have used over the past year that works. And this has not only worked to remove fake reviews, but I remember, for example, in Power Builders, we had a plumber that gave us an estimate, and the estimate was astronomically, ridiculously high, right? And so we just told him, it was a subcontractor, we just told him like, no, we're not going to use you for this project. He got really upset about it. He leaves us a 1-star review. So what we did, and then I think at Redmond Growth, we had the situation where we had someone leave us a fake 1-star review, and we were able to get it removed. Here's how we were able to get it removed. I'm just going to show everyone on my screen right here. So we click these 3 dots, we click report review, and then you want to like actually fill out this form according to the like most accurate like reflection of what's actually happening with this fake review. And so like for this one, I'd either put like low quality information because it's kind of off topic from what you actually do, or I'd put not really helpful. I'd probably put low quality information because it's like more relevant, like there's a fake review about things that you don't actually do, right? Or haven't really done. And so if you put not helpful, my only concern with that one would be like maybe Google will review that and they'll say like, well, this is a review where they're, you know, it's not positive, but they're helping people decide whether to go to this place. So we don't want to go there. Let's go, you know, on the off topic, gibberish, repetitive, whatever. So then you click submit, right? And that's really all that you can do. However, the move is to get a number of different people with their Google accounts to do this to the review, like pull in like 5 different people and on all of these, like at least 5 different people, and all of these report the review, fill it out the same way. And we have found that that's the best way to remove reviews. Now, Google is also really good at removing reviews. Like chances are, even if you didn't do anything, there's a good chance that some of these would be removed. I don't know if all of them would, but some of them would probably be removed. Because like Google will probably at some point recognize the pattern of, you know, this is the same type of, you know, IP address that's coming from. They left reviews, like multiple reviews in a short amount of time. Same profile kind of picture. You know, Google can track that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in short,
maybe we'll just use it with more people instead of just having one of us do it. Then that might be helpful.
Yeah, I would try. That's the real effectiveness of the move, is not just what I just showed you, but doing what I just showed you with like 5 different people. Yeah, Ethan Ford. they really should have a spam option here. But I think this is the best. Low quality information is like the best kind of spam option.
Okay. Ours did have a spam option, so we did put that.
Okay, perfect.
Like on my end, but yeah. Well, I'll probably just have Kaylee and then some other people do that as well. Might be helpful to
And
get
they
it
can
off
do it
faster.
multiple times, Taylor. Like you can ask dailies with Arnold's Plumbing. We've had to do this for him a couple times, but it's like maybe the first week when we do it, it doesn't fall off, but then we just continue every time we meet to mark it, and eventually it does fall off. So just, you know, you can rate those as many times as you want, and I think it just triggers it back to Google.
Okay.
All right, you got.
Thanks.
I just did all 3 of them, so that's going to help. And then I would just have you, your wife, anyone on your team, if anyone on the Redmond growth team wants to help them out right now, just Butterfield Construction, Salt Lake City. He's right up there at the top. You go to his reviews, just put newest because it's the most recent reviews. And then just, you can practice doing that for Taylor and help him out. And then also know how to do it for yourself one day if you ever need it. I'm not going to say that move could also remove legitimate 1-star reviews. I'm not going to say that, but there is a world where that also could be a possibility, but I'm not going to say that, and I'm not endorsing that. But that could be a possibility in some worlds.
Doesn't hurt to try.
But we don't do that, and I don't encourage anyone to do that. If you have a 1-star review that was really bothering you, that could work, but I don't know for sure. That's my official politically correct. Knowing I'm on a Google Meet right now, that's my statement. So, all right. Oh, what's up, dude? Good to see you, man.
Hey, likewise. I was just saying I just did that for Taylor. Noticed he's down here in Salt Lake, so help a brother out.
Nice.
Yeah, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yeah, Roan and his wife, they own Accent Garage Doors, and they're just south of Salt Lake City. They just signed up with us.
Yep, we're in American Fork.
Oh, nice. We're based out of Orem, and we just do Utah County, so I'll have to get your info.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll just send that in the chat then.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look for that.
Love it. Love it.
Any other kind of final burning desires? Hey, something I'm gonna just continue to recommend because we're still, almost to halfway in the month. The holidays are approaching us. A lot of times people, it's like the easiest objection, right, in the sales process. I'm just gonna wait until after the holidays, Let me just wait. And like, sure, there's kind of more going on during the holidays, but we're talking about like there's more going on maybe during like 2 or 3 days of the month. Like the holidays aren't this like thing that just like for some people they treat it that way, and that's okay. But like reality, we're talking about like going to see family, right, and friends maybe on the 24th, 25th, and 26th, and then maybe having Christmas parties on the evenings and weekends occasionally, right? So it's not like this real actual thing, even though it may feel that way. And something that I really encourage people to do in light of that is to make deadline contingent offers that are actually good offers to keep sales going in December. Like regardless of how you feel about that sales move, when someone offers me a deadline, I see through it. And I love that you do that if that's the case. There was a guy that I was talking to earlier, or was checking us out at Redmond Growth, and I was talking to him, and I made him, we make everyone like a 24-hour discount. Hey, sign up within, the next business day after your growth plan, and we'll give you a pretty good discount on your first month. And, he was like, well, I like to, think about, the discount doesn't really affect me. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. You're just not going to get the discount. Like that's a real thing. Like you could be getting the same thing for less money, but you're kind of like negative perception of what you think is this move. And I just tell people, and you guys can tell people this, we do this in our construction process too. We booked a very large job at Power Builders recently doing this move. Is they're like, well, I don't want to rush to make a decision. Hey, I'm not trying to rush you to make a decision at all. I'm not trying to put pressure. I want you to make a confident decision. I have just found that a lot of times the decision with what contractor choose typically is one that you already pretty much know pretty early. And it feels like a big decision, but most of the time that decision doesn't typically change, I've found. And more importantly, I'm trying to keep my crew busy during the winter, and I'm trying to find a way to reward anyone who's willing to commit to me. I want to commit to them and say, hey, you commit to me, you help me keep my crews busy during what is typically a slow season. I'll commit to you by giving you a good discount. So like, don't be afraid to explain that to people. Like there's no, like, if you feel like, well, I don't want them to, see my cards or whatever, like there's no cards to hide. Like, you just upfront, transparently show people, tell people that. And if you're uncomfortable with it, that's probably a good indication that it's a great thing to try. One of my favorite quotes of all time, some of you may have heard me say before, by a guy named Joseph Campbell. He was a scholar in the 20th century. He wrote a number of different books, but his most famous book is called A Hero with a Thousand Faces. And basically what this guy did is he spent his entire life studying all the world religions, and he would even go to like folk religions and like little tribal religions and ancient religions and all this, like, and he found one common story in them all, and it's called the hero's journey. Right? Great kind of thing to check out. It's a story actually of someone being raised and then being rejected by their hometown, experiencing death, rebirth, new insight, and then bringing that new insight back to the place that rejected them. That's kind of like the human story. And people like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, they follow this model. It's called the hero's journey. And there's actually a diagram. You can look this up, hero's journey. It's kind of a cool thing if you're into this stuff. There's a whole diagram on it. But something that he says, a quote that I love, he says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek." The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. I remember when I first heard that quote in 2020, it like shook me, right? It like caused me to rethink everything, because I had realized that I had spent most of my life avoiding the things I was afraid of, trying to run from the things I was afraid of. And that the life that I really wanted, or the things I really wanted, were in those places that I was avoiding and afraid to go to. And in that same way, like, I hear from some people like, oh, it's, tough during the winter. And it certainly is. Like, you're dealing with this human psychology of the holidays, and there is some actual, inconvenience it causes because people are wanting to entertain. They're not wanting construction crews in their home. Like that makes sense. That is a real thing. However, there are ways around that. And the deadline offer really does work. It may not work for everybody, but it really does work. And I would offer it for anyone that might be in that kind of like, I may want to wait, hey, something that we're doing. Like what we did is we did like a 10% off of our labor rate. And then we dropped our project management fee from 15% to 8%. But we still had a 20% contractor fee, right? So really it was a discount of dropping our total fees from 35 to 28%, right? Which is still like a significant discount, but I wanted it to be a significant discount because I wanted people to like take me up on it, because I cared more about cash coming in, than I cared about like having an awesome profit margin. And 28% gross profit margin is like still not bad. It's not terrible. So anyway, just think about that as we're still not quite to the holiday season, but getting there over these next 2 weeks. As we're getting there, try using that deadline to move people. Yeah, Rowan, what's up?
So along those lines, with it being around the holidays, does anybody else experience that like their team is checked out as well? Like slowing down, not being as active?
My team's not. But they're awesome. They're kind of unique. We've been working on them for a long time.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah. What about anyone else? Is anyone else having a feeling like their team checked out, or how they have maybe dealt with that? And Lance Odell is checked out. He is checked out. when you get to where Lance is, you get to be checked out for the holidays every now and then, you know. Anyone else? And there is something with that that's like totally okay. Like Jordan, like if you and Stacy wanted to like ease up, I think you guys could deserve that because you guys have had an incredible year.
Or maybe go on a cruise, which they are doing at
No.
the end of the year.
We have to like set vacations out to like have something to look forward to, you know.
Yeah, that I love that. That's great. Has anyone dealt with checked out employees or dealing with people that are checked out in the holidays?
Another thing I've learned that you have to deal with is people getting sick more, colds, and I'm sure you guys have all heard of the man flu. So I've got my superintendent who was sick this week, and we have a weekly phone call, and we get on this phone call, and I could just tell like he wasn't interested in being on the phone call. He didn't want to talk. He was definitely making it well known that he had the sniffles and a cough. So just gotta, I guess, let him get through it. Try to be understanding.
Jordan, you got something?
Yeah, real quick, our realtor used that when we just bought a house, and we put in an offer that expired at midnight, and it worked. So putting like time constraints on stuff does help.
Yeah, it like always objectively works. That's why every single like Fortune 500 company continues to do it, and that's why we still accept those offers. That's why we buy shit on Black Friday. It works. That's why everyone does it, right? So regarding checked out, here's what I found can help. Sometimes if you guys have a big goal that you're trying to reach with the promise of a really cool reward that people are actually interested in, that keeps people engaged, right? Now you have to think about what would actually be the reward that would cause them to do that. You know, like an ice cream party, you know, I don't know. You know, my team loves ice cream parties. They, you know, instead of giving
Robert-
a pizza.
Robert takes us to Incredible Pizza when we do well.
I did do that once as a team event. I took everyone to Incredible Pizza. And this year, Nicole played our Christmas party. We're going bowling.
We are going bowling.
And so, yeah, Dale Eats, cash incentives are king. People love holiday bonuses, right? So create like a certain specific KPI. And it could even be like, I don't want to reward like just people doing their jobs. Like I don't want to, hey, you showed up on time, you get a bonus, you know, type of thing. But like if people are hitting like maybe not stretch goals, but like are just doing well, maybe you can create like, hey, for each of you guys that can, you know, finish by, you know, doing 3 service calls a day on average or you know, billing 5, 6, whatever, $7,000 a week. You know, we're going to make sure that for every week that you do that, you get like a $250, $500 bonus, right? We're going to give you a $500 gift card to Walmart or something like that. So those kind of incentives are there. And then I also just believe in just having one-on-one conversations with people, pulling them aside. Hey, you seem a little checked out. Let's talk about it. What's going on? Like holidays, you know, and then you as an owner can share your perspective about the things that you're worried about. Hey, although it's the holidays and there's fun stuff going on and I get it, I love it. Like we still are a business. We got to protect revenue. We got to keep stuff coming in because what really isn't fun is whenever we have to pay off a credit card bill after the holidays and then have to let people go because we didn't have enough revenue. That's kind of like a big thing to say, but that's kind of like the truth of it. And maybe don't go that far in sharing, but sharing, like being open about things like that, or just checking in with people really one-on-one can really help too. So that's what I would do. Create some sort of incentive, create a Christmas bonus that's contingent upon doing certain things that keeps revenue going, that keeps people checked in. And then I would just have one-on-one conversations with people. Don't delay, don't avoid it. Have the one-on-one conversation with people if you feel that they're getting checked out. Doesn't need to be a big negative. Hey, why are you checked out? You know, blah, 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 blah. Start with, hey, what's going on? Seems like things have slowed down a little bit. This isn't your normal self. Talk to me a little bit more. Start the conversation that way. That can help a lot too.
Thank you
Awesome,
so
thanks.
much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's
Appreciate
it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, appreciate everybody being here today. We will be on like normal next week. And then unfortunately, the following 2 weeks falls on holidays. We've got Christmas Day, and then that first Thursday of the year is New Year's Day. But we'll remind you guys as we get closer to that. But next Thursday, like normal, would love to see you all there. We're going to close out this group call the same way we close out everyone, which is with a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So if I could get everybody to unmute for me. And do 3, 2, 1, growth.
Grow.
Bye,
There you
guys.
go. Good to see you, everybody.